This is Ben from Boss Construction, your South Florida permitting and code compliance specialist, bringing you today an amazing interview with an amazing entrepreneur, George Kauper, presented by Reliable Lien Search. We're having so much fun here today, George.
Yes.
I mean, we met over a year ago, right? Over a year ago?
I think it was, yes.
And Erica Enid from Stewart introduced us, which was phenomenal. I want to give a shout out to her. And it was just fabulous. I mean, we met in this neighborhood. I'm not really familiar with the section that we meet and the section that we met, and we'll provide a aerial photograph for everyone. But what was so special about the Spring Hill area or the Spring Hill community?
Or Spring Garden.
Spring Garden.
Yes. So Spring Garden is it's an old Miami neighborhood. Developed probably over the late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm not familiar.
This is right off the Miami River.
It is.
And I literally saw across the street, this guy had like a boathouse. It looked like a drug runner. Like it looked like one of those.
It's an amazing little neighborhood. Directly west, maybe a half a mile west of the American Airlines Arena, and it sits right on the Miami River, very close to the Marlins Stadium, very close to Jackson, Brickell. So it sits in between all those areas, and I identified a small apartment building that the family had owned since the 1930s that they needed a lot of work. It's a 5-unit apartment building, and the reason I called you is because Eric had mentioned you are the expert. So if we really needed to understand how it's affected by flooding, how are there any impacts, potential negative impacts in regards to structural and the city, any kind of liens, any kind of changes in the zoning that we need to know about. So that's why I contacted you. Erica had said you're the best person, which you were, and you did all that research for me, which was very helpful. We're renovating that building now, and actually it's almost completed.
That's phenomenal. And again, we'll show the viewers this, but if you guys want to look on the screen, there's the block is like a triangle with 5 lots. Incredible opportunity. What
a neighborhood to be in. You could be in Brickell in a minute. You could be at the arena in a minute and a half. It's just amazing.
I mean, and you're around $800,000 houses, $1 million homes on the water, which was so cool.
So this purchase was a 5-unit apartment building for $695,000. The house, the single-family home next door, is $1.5 million.
Wow.
So it's a wonderful purchase for my client.
How did you? What brought you to that area? Just from doing business in Miami, or what brought you?
It's a great question. I live in Broward, and I've been working in Dade for 35 years. So I'm all over Dade and Broward all the time. So for me, I kind of see it as when you're sifting through the sand, you'll find that diamond.
Yeah,
it just comes
you're hustling.
Out. These really good deals will identify themselves. It's just a matter of constantly looking and identifying it when it becomes available. So that was one of those deals, and the deal could be in Broward, it could be in Dade, it could be anywhere at any time. It's just a matter of having my eyes there and looking for it and identifying when it becomes available.
And you're always looking to bring property and areas to highest and best use. Some of these things are long-term projects. But again, the nice thing about the rental income property is the income's there as well as the appreciation.
Absolutely, that's a real winner. And there was often it was a situation where there was a buyer, and maybe they were negotiating too hard. We don't really know what the situation, but they had fallen out. So I had stepped in and got a fantastic price on it.
So again, Miami. I've heard about your background, again, from working in the Fontainebleau to doing marketing, to doing hospitality, to doing everything. Now having the cigar bar, which is phenomenal. I mean, how did all that stuff synthesize with each other? How did you build up to that?
It's a good question. I don't know if I built up to it. I've always been like that.
It's evolved.
I mean, I've started working at 14, and I worked at a friend of mine's owned a bar, a very famous bar in Atlantic City, just south of Atlantic City. So I started working at 14. I've been working ever since. And even at a young age, when I first moved here, I was working at the Barry University bookstore. I was working at the Bath Club while I was going to high school, and I was playing sports. So I always get bored pretty easily, and I like doing a lot of different things. So I guess through my career, I moved from these different opportunities. Then I wanted to learn about exercising, so I started working at the spa at the Fontainebleau, and I became the manager there. Then when I turned 21, I wanted to learn more about the bar business, so I went to Ocean Drive. I started bartending right the day I turned 21 on
Nice.
Ocean Drive, and then probably 6 months later, I partnered up with the owner of the hotel, and we had a partnership in the bar there. So
you evolve and adapt to whatever your interests
it's always been
are.
like that. It's always been like that for me, and I just find it fun.
Yeah.
You know.
And how do you find that bridge connection over into promoting nightlife and real estate?
It just comes down to people.
It comes down to relationships with people.
It does.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I really enjoy seeing what people's experiences are, what they're doing, how they are, what's happening.
Yeah.
And even today, I'm connected through. I guess right now I'm really looking at blockchain.
Okay.
The implementation of the blockchain is going to permeate all aspects of society, from logistics to cryptocurrencies to a lot of different things. So that is the future.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. The tobacco business is a great business. I have a lounge in South Beach next to Joe's, Stone Crabs.
Yeah.
And that particular business is a fantastic business. The people who are in that business, from the farms to the manufacturers to the wholesalers to the retailers to the clients, it's just an amazing business to be in. It's where people enjoy developing relationships.
This is like lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
So again.
Yeah, they call it the Brotherhood of the Leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BOTL. So when people are smoking, there's automatically a confianza.
Yeah.
Where it's nice.
Nice. And like we were even at Smoke on the Water the other night with Steve So. We were doing our Korean, coalition video. It's just phenomenal how it brings everyone together.
It is. And that was a special night. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then they broadcasted on like Good Morning South Korea television show.
They're real cool.
About the election. That was really nice.
It was SBS. And it was actually, they were going to air it live the next day, so it was phenomenal. And they wanted to see, what's going on in South Florida and let alone the United States and life here and how people are transforming and businesses are mitigating and all that kind of stuff. But again, at the end of the day, people are out there enjoying themselves safely. People are smoking cigars, people are dining with their families, and it's just amazing to see how that's transformed.
Yeah, and even just a little background on cigars, which I find really interesting.
Sure.
Is for 3,000 years, tobacco and sage has been it's been a medicinal plant that's been used for 3,000 years. So
it makes me really calm.
And that's why.
And you said I wasn't supposed to inhale the Java.
Yeah.
And that got me a little.
You don't want to. It could be too powerful.
Yeah.
But it tends to calm. Men in their 30s to 50s or 60s, it's a very stressful time with a lot of things. So it's a great way to relax.
Yeah.
So,
I don't have time to go out golfing for 4 hours, but if I could get one of the wafers or the smaller cigars and enjoy and talk with a friend, that's always great.
It's always been there for thousands of years to break up the bad energy and relax and,
cool.
and it creates a meditation contemplation.
That's awesome.
So it's really nice, and it's a great environment for guys our age to just relax and talk about whatever we feel like talking about.
That's really cool.
That's good. Yeah.
And what other areas do you see as opportunity or sorting out to? I know you mentioned that you live in Broward and you're a resident.
Yes.
I grew up in South Broward, where our offices are. Do you see any areas in Broward that are opportunity zones?
It's being here and you've been here so long, I'm constantly seeing areas regentrify and shift.
I'm at the Funky Buddha and I'm like, wow, this was Oakland Park, this was a warehouse district, but again, you're seeing that Wilton Manors area come together, particularly areas, east of 95, and we're seeing the redevelopment go from, not from east to west anymore, but from west to east.
I also think, and you're really plugged into this, which is perfect, is that I think some of the triggers for these neighborhoods to change are when they change the zonings, like they did in Wynwood.
Correct.
Right. So when the rules change and they allow certain things in there, that's really like the best time to identify properties to get involved with and different businesses and see how this is going to affect that neighborhood. And that's where you really have your eye on it.
It's phenomenal. When I worked in Miami Gardens and in Weston, it's all about the zoning, and the zoning is the city's way of saying, hey, we're going to allow this type of density, this type of parking, landscaping, signage.
Yep.
Similar, we were talking about ethnic districts earlier. So things like that to create the environment in the neighborhood. My background's in urban planning, but what was really interesting is that the city uses these policies to on the local level to enhance development.
They are essential to that development.
Or like, for example, they'll come up with a CRA or a special taxing district if they see, the streets need to be cleaned, or a private security area needs to come in on Lincoln Road, or something like that, or, but it's very interesting when you're on these fringe areas. I was on 23rd and Biscayne the other day at a storage, and then I was across from Miu Miu and Bunny Cakes and Wynwood and all these places, but, you see the struggles that they've gone through, and that's even before COVID. You see the people that lived there got pushed out from under 195, and and even my father-in-law, he had a sunglass store in the Deco Plage. They have a homeless issue. So where are these people? You have these like $1,600 shoes, and you have this guy who is on some substance eating cookies and donuts like the Cookie Monster, laying on the floor. So all of these areas change, and to keep things positive, we talked about these people, they're relocating to other places, other states, other areas who support, I wouldn't say who can support, but who could sustain them. And South Florida has been this always ever evolving, changing,
No, you're reminding me of some things. When I had the bar on Ocean Drive, I guess it was '89, there was a meeting of like 30 business leaders. Steve Muss and some guys came in there into where my bar was and downstairs, and they were talking about the incentives that they were going to give to the hotels to revive Ocean Drive, to redo the street, which they redid it, because when I was there it was like Scarface. It was exactly like the movie. So that meeting was about what can we do for the hotels to turn this into what it's going to be, Ocean Drive.
These are alliances and like coalitions of people.
And it all comes from what you're plugged into, is how are the city leaders getting together to create the incentives to redo an area. It happened wonderfully in Wynwood. And I've seen other areas and things go on in Miami, so it's fantastic.
It's really phenomenal.
It's always happening.
It's really phenomenal. I have a friend who works at Sylvester and UM, what they've done in the Marlins Park area, the Civic Center area. My grandfather used to have a restaurant across from the courthouse. Janet Reno would come in there. So this area, and they talk about, well, what is the culture of your district going to be? How are you going to identify? How do we know we're on UM's campus, or how do we know we're on the hospital's campus? Through signage and businesses, and especially in the healthcare industry, people still need to come out of their facility. They don't need to go in their car. They don't need to go home. They still need a place to eat. So a lot of these local businesses depend on those operations, which has been fabulous, and the city's set forth policies to keep these things sustainable and going. Meaning we can't just have no restaurants or anything for these people to go to.
And those are that going back to the Spring Garden community. It's so close to Jackson.
What is it? Half a mile
to Jackson,
over
to
the
Brickell, to downtown.
Phenomenal.
It's there's many amazing neighborhoods that have all the fundamentals to be just a hub of activity. And it's a normal that they go through these cycles, which are 30, 40 years or whatever the cycles may be, or longer, but they're positioned perfectly for that success. So because it's happening, and it's great it's really fun. And when I did it when I was younger, and there's different things I did, and I didn't even know that I was in that spot. But now that I'm older, it's exciting to see it happen again. It happens all over the place. It's perfect to be involved in it, and then now how to look at it in the right way.
It's all about location and cluster. I was in Key West the other week. It's all about, hey, are we gonna have our store on the first block away from Mallory Square off Front Street?
Yeah.
Or are we gonna be 10 blocks away?
Yeah.
So I was talking to a lot of business owners about the real estate going on there, and again, some of the real estate that we're seeing, the transactions that we're seeing, while the businesses might not be as active because the local government won't allow a large cruise ship to come in, or cruise ships aren't docking right now, these are tremendous real estate holdings.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is phenomenal.
Yeah. And real estate is at least a 20-year game. You have to, buy early, buy right, and then it takes time. And yes, people do get lucky.
Yeah.
You like a Wynwood neighborhood. Within just a couple years, you're going to see outrageous gains. But in general,
outrageous. I mean, my grandfather had a 10-unit building somewhere in South Beach. I'm not sure. My other grandfather was a developer. But the point is, these efficiencies on South Beach, they're seeing $2,300 annual rents with a window shaker and no washer dryer.
Yeah.
So again,
when I was early on down there, one of my friends, his mother bought I think it was like a 15-unit apartment building on, let's say, 11th and Meridian for $180,000.
Yeah.
And this is probably $2.5 million or $5 million today.
My dad was telling me I used to get his haircut in the South Bay Club, and I was just in that building with the open atrium, South Bay Club.
That's it.
Just phenomenal.
It's a lot of fun to have that history.
So you raised your family up in Broward.
Yes. When I have two boys.
How old are they?
15 and 19.
Yeah.
And when my first son was born, I was in South Beach and came up to Davie because
when my first daughter was born, I was in Aventura, and I'm like, I can only spend like one more year here because I need affordable housing and schools,
Yeah, and Dade and Broward is really like one big neighborhood for me.
Yeah,
so
cool.
It was great, to come up here. The park is a 118-acre park, and the sports are great. The schools are wonderful, and it's just a perfect place for him to grow up. Yeah. So now he's 19, and it's so easy to get to Miami. I've been from my house in Davie to the American Airlines Arena, and I had an office at 900 Biscayne for a long time, in 18 minutes.
Wow.
So it's normally longer with traffic. It can be, but that's the short time.
Yeah.
I got there in 18 minutes.
We like to get there fast.
It's pretty quick.
You and me.
Yeah, it's very easy to get around.
No, but especially that 75 expansion.
Yeah.
So a lot of people use the I-75 expansion to get to the Golden Glades, as opposed to taking, everyone wants to stay.
The 75 expansion is amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing. All Southwest ranches, it's so easy to get around from Weston.
Yeah.
And everywhere in Broward. This is very easy to travel. And what is it, Dream Miami?
Yeah.
The project, that's moving forward.
No,
This is going to transform that area.
I mean,
Amazon just bought 77 acres in Homestead.
Wow.
So for $22 million, it's this area, Dade and Broward counties, is constantly evolving, constantly growing. Yeah. The future is just as exciting as ever.
You also mentioned transportation, and something that I learned about is transit-oriented development, which is basically the thought that you're going to be in a Wynwood type of neighborhood, and they're going to have the transportation coming there. Which is phenomenal. Yeah. Whether it's any type of mass transportation, and from there the businesses and the residential form.
Yep, and they're still talking about it. I remember, in the beginning there was a big.
Even the scooters that sit in the street, they're transportation too. Yeah. All these local policies, all of these.
The bikes.
Yeah.
Everything is fantastic. Yeah. And it is, and it's always going on. In the beginning, when they created the Metro Mover in downtown Miami, there was the first year they said, well, everyone who uses it, we could have bought them a limousine to drive around, for a year, and have a private limousine for what we paid for this. Nobody uses it, but it's so essential to, this is a long time ago, so now it's so essential to the function. Now I just saw they're talking about putting mass transit over to the beach, adding that on. And then along with the bikes, the electric scooters, you can just swipe your credit card and jump on a scooter and go anywhere you want. Everything is so easy to get around, and it's safer, and it's essential to the functioning of the city. It's really good.
I can't wait to come back to the Casa Blanca. Because again, I can't enjoy a cigar. I can't talk with friends on a Zoom meeting. There are just some things, and I mean, just being part of a social environment that's fabulous.
And it's just an evolution. So when that's ready to reopen, or when that happens, we'll see. And I just, I'm divinely directed. So whatever really comes next, I'll let that happen the way it's supposed to happen.
And you'll just fall into it.
I don't fight the system too much.
That's awesome.
There's a natural
you adapt and you work with the system.
And I like diversity. I like to do different things. It's interesting, and where the opportunity is, that's really what attracts me.
Some people know, and I was just listening to NPR on the way here this morning. Some people, they worry about things that they can't control, or how things are going to adapt, and they waste their cognitive energy using that. Some do, and you adapt with it, and you have a positive spin on it. And that's what I gained out of this conversation today.
Oh, thank you.
I really love hearing how you've adapted to different industries and how different entrepreneurs have. Because we share South Broward, we share real estate, we share a lot of different contacts. Because we over the past couple years, we've seen each other at a lot of networking events. So it's pretty cool.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I feel like fear in any shape, way, or form is kind of toxic. So any decision based out of fear is not going to really turn out very well. So it's important to use whatever method you can to eliminate that, and just get back into the flow of the way things are happening and what's happening, and trust in the process, and let things happen naturally. It's the best way. It's the happiest way.
Thank you so much, George, for coming out today. My name is Ben from Boss Construction. I'm here with George Kauper. George, I see you have a lot of Instagram followers, a lot of people on social media. How can people get in touch with you?
Anyway, you can find me on, by phone or by email. I'm easy to get in touch with. Just, search my name.
You always post pictures with, a lot of influential, like really cool people in the community who come to the cigar bar or come to outreach. So I always enjoy seeing that.
That is fun.
That's phenomenal.
I'm fortunate to have a lot of nice friends.
And you have nice friends, and you have an iPhone 12, which we were talking about the other day. That has an amazing camera and lighting. I was taking pictures and video with my 10, and I'm like, wow.
Technology is extraordinary. What's happening?
Well, you understand that. You don't fight it. You're like, I got to get rid of my Android here.
It's
because you see that your CRM and your business, and people are, people want. The thing that was interesting about the Apple Android thing, which is half and half, and it was very interesting to go on about that, and is people in the Apple community, they've developed so many ways of communicating with each other, similar to FaceTime and sharing videos and sharing photographs. So I noticed when I was working with a lot of luxury real estate professionals and key people in the real estate community about 3 years ago, that's when I had to make that switch too.
And talking about technology, the blockchain is looking at it. It's very complicated. I mean, it's the foundation of what creates value in cryptocurrency.
So you had mentioned to me that the blockchain is a ledger.
It's an electronic distributed ledger
that you cannot change.
Correct.
And you can track anything with.
Logistics,
importing, exporting.
Smart contracts, digital contracts. Like you'll see a complicated real estate contract. Eventually, they'll have the infrastructure that can all be done through electronic triggering of parts of that contract, fully executable contract, which is valid.
And people can implement blockchain in applications that they build for their phone, different things like that, right? That's one of the ways it can be profitable, right?
It can be in many different ways, and there's other countries that have historically had great problems validating who owns what piece of land. So now,
like property appraisers,
like deeds. So now they can put that information into the blockchain, and there's going to be if government changes or if there's different kinds of turmoil, those records of that land and that history will be there forever. So it's the data is all over the world. throughout any computers. So it's fascinating.
You had mentioned
to watch,
me something the other night, which I want to share with our viewers and talk about. Kind of circling back, you had mentioned to me, and I'm a big fan of democracy, and I'm so happy that everyone came out to vote.
Yeah.
So we're very happy that I'm the governmental affairs director for NAREP Fort Lauderdale. We try and encourage democracy and everyone to get out to vote. You had mentioned to me, and I'm so fascinated by our precincts, how the electoral college works with the states and their supervisor of elections and the counties, and you had mentioned to me something so simple as like the blockchain or the ledger can be used to solidify things and make them transparent and make things uniform.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things that just following the news is every state has their own election laws.
Yeah.
But the way things are governed, which is really interesting, is that you have counties that are populated and unpopulated. You have precincts, and you have the state supervisor of elections, and it kind of guarantees a transparent process. So, I mean, even when I'm working with my CRM, I love the fact that my assistant Santiago, or I could log in with partners, and people could see real time what you're working on in a cloud. But the problem is, the data in there. You don't want the data to be manipulated.
Yep.
And like on the MLS, for example, we're in real estate.
The MLS is the most amazing system. It's really impressive.
It is, but in my opinion, it's only as good as the people who put the information into it.
It is a high-level system.
So it's a high-level system.
Yeah.
CoreLogic does an amazing. The Miami board, the Broward and Palm Beach boards, we do a lot of education with.
Yeah.
But it says all the information is accurate to be true or not warranted or something like that.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of education in the real estate communities. I see people, agents posting things like illegal bathroom addition or doing a zone, or they're selling a commercial property and they say can be zoned for 9 units. So again, while we can't manipulate that data, I think anything that could be. That's why the blockchain interested me so much.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it'll slowly. I feel like when it comes to that,
what
technology,
is it being used for present day?
It is cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency
is its most powerful application at the moment. Without the blockchain, cryptocurrency wouldn't have any value. So there's so much to it. I mean, when it comes to that technology and cryptocurrency and this, I feel like I live in Manhattan in 1901. And I can go out and buy real estate. There's so much opportunity. It's phenomenal. So it's incredible what can happen, and that technology can be intimidating because it's very complex. And you look at these younger kids, and they have an open mind and they absorb it, and they don't get intimidated by the technology. They just play with it like a toy. So they're able to learn very well. And I try and approach it that way because the opportunities in that area are just phenomenal. And what was I getting at? So I do mine. Mining of cryptocurrency has gone from proof of work to proof of stake, which is having your computer create transactions or process transactions, and you get paid out in, let's say, Bitcoin or another currency. Then there's proof of stake, where now you can fund into a pool, and having that money there, you don't have the computers in your house.
Wow.
Or in an office or a warehouse somewhere that are churning all this electricity, and then you can earn cryptocurrency that way. So I look at the whole thing and I say, okay, well, let's say proof of work, where they're very electric and heat and computer equipment intensive. The technology on the hardware side is going to accelerate. There's quantum computers coming out and everything. This is like, to me, it looks like a temporary thing. It's almost like the compact disc.
Yeah.
It's going to go away because there's the hardware technology is accelerating.
Well, there's
There's so much happening. It's exciting.
In Nebraska handling all
and that's what's happening now. And then the hardware is going to advance to a point where maybe those become a little bit obsolete. Maybe not totally obsolete, but not what they're doing today. So, and it may happen fast.
Interesting.
You know, it's like sort of like a Blockbuster. Okay, it's going to have a great window of opportunity, but it may go away. I don't know. But I'm looking at those things, and the opportunity is exciting now. Yeah.
Well, George, again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you again.
This is Ben from Boss Construction at the Boss Show. I'm here with George Kauper, amazing entrepreneur, cigar aficionado. Is that how you say that?
Sure.
Real estate professional. Thank you so much for coming today. You can contact George. We'll provide his information as well. And thank you. Please like our Facebook page, Boss Construction Group, Open Permitting Code Violation Solutions. You can contact us at any time. This video and interview was presented by our partners at Reliable Lien Search, and we hope you guys have a great and safe day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.